All right, now that the recording in progress has started, I want to welcome you all to the South Sacramento Florida Community Air Protection Steering Committee meeting. Happy June. It's June 4th. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bearing the heat. Thankfully, we have AC in this building. I hope everyone online has AC and is comfortable as well. As you heard the little announcement, this meeting is being recorded. So just have that for your awareness. Starting off with some welcome and introductions, as we usually do. We will go over some meeting logistics, we'll go over some meeting commitments, and then we'll do roll call and do our introductions of everyone else in the room and online, as we usually do. So starting off with some in-person and virtual reminders. As we are all aware, this is a hybrid meeting, so we may have to pause and make adjustments throughout to ensure equitable engagement for those of us in person and online. You've already seen us make some of these adjustments, so thank you in advance for your patience. If we need to adjust, just to make sure everyone can participate equitably. For those of us here in person, if you have a question or comment, feel free to raise your hand or use your name placard. You can sit upright, and that will flag to me that you have a question or comment. For those of us here virtually, please raise your virtual hand or type your question or comment in the chat, and we'll be sure to read it out in the order that we receive them. And that being said, in terms of order of operations, we are going to do steering committee in person first, then steering committee online, then public in person, and then public online. And we are going to be workshopping a bit of it's a continuation of the format changes we've been making to ensure equity and to ensure that we have a standard process that we can all follow. So if we need to call that out in the moment or remind folks of that process, we may do so, and I will be going over that shortly as well. So for those of us here virtually, some virtual logistics on the screen. You can feel free to email Sarah. Her email is 80-617-clerk@airquality.org if you have assistance. And when you would like to speak online, please raise your virtual hand or put it in the chat. There's some actual directions for that on the screen as well. And I'm going to give you a moment to read those over. I'm not going to read them out since I see a lot of familiar names and many of us are familiar with this. Okay, so we do have interpreters here in the room for in-person interpretation. We currently do not have anyone needing interpretation, but if someone walks in needing interpretation, we will take a moment to pause and accommodate that to make sure everyone here can participate equitably. So thank you, our interpreters, for being here. Okay, so this is the code of conduct taken from the charter. So steering committee members, you have this in your packet as well. For those of you who are not steering committee, I will just give it a brief read. So members will treat everyone with courtesy and respect, avoid personally attacking or demeaning anyone, avoid interrupting others who have the floor. And that also reminds me, please, another reason for not interrupting is not just because we want to maintain respect, but also because people online won't be able to hear you if you interject and just say something because you have a mic. Please also avoid disrupting or delaying the meeting. We strive to be fair and unbiased towards each other, the public and the district. We value each other's time and respect each other's opportunity to speak. We will strive to reach consensus, but agree to disagree if need be. We will listen courteously and attentively to the public and strive to hold each other accountable to the code of conduct. Okay, going over the agenda, we have a really packed agenda today. And I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so going over the agenda today, that is on screen, we have a very packed agenda. And right now we are finishing up the welcome and meeting logistics. We'll then do a roll call and introduce everyone else who's here. For administrative items, we will approve the meeting minutes, and then our action items are the meat of today's meeting. So we have outlined that we will recommend new member applications. We will determine draft community boundaries that will then go for public comments. So once again, I want to emphasize they are draft community boundaries. We will identify areas for the bus tour route, and then depending on time, we might do SERP subcommittee recommended SERP development schedule, which is through October. So here's where you will notice a difference. We used to have district updates at the beginning, and we moved them to be part of the update section, which is now the outreach subcommittee, the SERP subcommittee, and then the district. So all of the voting items are together under action items, and the district updates, instead of being after administrative items, are now part of the updates. Per usual, we still have new business and upcoming meeting topics, public comments, and adjournment. So that is the agenda for today, and we hope to get through it as much as possible. And because it is so tight, I might be pushing us along, giving us time reminders, and just trying to keep us overall on track, because we do want to get through these items if possible. Okay, so moving. Okay. Do you want to?
Oh, all right. Good evening, everyone. Stephanie Williams, co-lead for the steering committee. Just want to welcome everyone in the room and then also online. I am going to take roll for our steering committee, so I will ask those of you, those steering committee members that are online, when you hear your name, please unmute yourself and identify your presence by saying present, and also those that are in the room. So I will start off with our roll call. Bill Knowlton. Bishop Chris Baker. Patricia Shelby. Rhonda Henderson.
Present.
I'm Stephanie Williams. Tito Home.
Here.
Vincent Valdez.
Here.
Rachel Brown. Michael Lampkin. Richard Falcone.
Here.
Richard Lincoln. Ward Winchell.
Here.
Barry Boyd. Thank you. Morgan Brown. Here. Raina Moreno. Stephen Street.
Present.
Thank you. All right. So at this time, I am going to ask the Sac Metro Air District staff to introduce themselves, say hello, raise your hand and state your name for those that are in the room so they know who you are.
Janice Snyder. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do
Okay.
it. Janice Snyder, Director of Community Air Protection. David Yang.
Here.
Sarah Farsa.
Here.
Leah Colin.
Here.
Mark Lotzenheiser.
Here.
Amy Roberts.
Here.
Jaime Lemus.
Here.
Brian Krebs.
Here.
Angela Thompson.
Here.
I think that's all district.
All right. Do we have any park staff in the room? Adriana Smith.
Present.
All right, thank you. Kevin Holt.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, and I believe you have introduced yourself. If I have our facilitators introduce ourselves, I don't think that everyone has had an opportunity to meet Veronica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Veronica Cumming, and I'm Britta's colleague at Parents in West, and thrilled to be here. And I'm also a former Sacramento resident. I miss it, but I don't miss this heat. So really thrilled to be here with all of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, still have, and we have Sarah online, Sarah. And I think that is it. And now, so that's everyone that's in the steering committee, CAR, district facilitators, members of the public. Anyone want to identify themselves?
Hi there, Adrian Wren, community member. I work at a nonprofit called Valley Vision that does your quality work, and I live in Spring Park.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Guzman, and I work for United Latinos, and I live 3 blocks away. I live in this neighborhood.
Thank you. My name is Roberto Rizzo. I am a community member. I've lived in South Sacramento for 16 years, the same zip code for the past 16 years. Former USNRPD staffer, and now with California Office of Data and Innovation.
Hi, Erica Jaramillo. I'm a renter here in South Sacramento and also a community CPAC, South Sacramento CPAC.
Herman Barahona, Sacramento EJ Coalition.
Jose Saldaña, South Sacramento resident.
I think we covered everybody now.
Everyone in person, and now we have someone online with their hand raised. So Jeff, you can go ahead and unmute and please introduce yourself. And then Jesse, we can hear from you after.
This is Jeff Solomon. I'm a District 8 resident. I'm an officer and board member of the Meadowview Neighborhood Association, and I'm a founding member of the Meadowview Urban Tree Project. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jeff. Jesse, go ahead, and then Sue after Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse Reese, President, Meadowview Neighborhood Association, District 8 residents. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. And Sue, feel free to unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. This is Sue. I'm one of the CARB staff who worked on the CADA tool, California Air Toxics Assessment, that will be presented to you later. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's Stephanie Avalos with Linguistica. We also have Lena who just stepped out, but we're with Linguistica offering interpretation if anybody needs it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. All right, thank you for those introductions. So I will pass it back to Stephanie to go over the approval of the meeting minutes.
All right, so for our steering committee members, we've had an opportunity to receive our meeting minutes from our previous meeting, and so would like to open up to approve the meeting minutes. If there is anyone that would like to make a motion to approve, or if there's any questions about meeting minutes before. Want to make sure that everyone's had an opportunity to review those prior, or if you may need a moment. And they are, the copies of the meeting minutes are in your packet on the left-hand side.
And while you're going through your packet, I actually forgot that I wanted to mention for the steering committee, in your packet, your toolkit on page 9, you do have an updated agenda that has the Roberts rules. So just wanted to flag that for the steering committee, as we discussed in our realignment meeting. Page 9 has that process chart for you all. So we are going to pause for a moment while we get the interpretation set up, just to make sure that there aren't any gaps in understanding. So just going to hold some space for that really quick, so everyone knows in person and online, we're going to use the interpretation.
Absolutely.
All right, we're ready to go.
Just in a few more minutes for those who need to review the meeting minutes. That we still have some that are taking a look at those, if they didn't have a chance to review those prior to coming. I'm going to ask those steering committee members, when you're done with your review, if you can set your name tag up, so I know when everyone's done. No rush, but.
Motion made to accept the minutes as written.
All right, looking all around, everybody's had a chance to review. All right, Vincent?
Motion to accept the minutes as written.
A second. All right. First and second. All right.
Is your mic on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay.
Just wanted to make
All
sure.
right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as approved, say aye.
Aye.
Oh. You know what? All right. Yours, okay, I understand.
Just want to be clear again, as alternate, I am not to vote at this meeting, correct?
That is correct.
That's what I-
Okay, all right. Okay, meeting minutes have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. So now moving on to our action items for today's meeting. I am going to pass it back to Stephanie to present on the new member resident application that was received and is under consideration. And just so everyone knows, whether you're virtual or in person, we have some new slides that should help demonstrate where we are in the process in terms of meeting presentation, committee discussion, public comment. So those are going to be on the screen, but just wanted to flag they're new. And if anyone has any questions about those, these are supposed to help us, but we can stop for those if there's confusion over what's happening.
Right. Further to clarify, do we have any steering committee members online?
Yes, we have Stephen Street.
Okay, Stephen, sure. Okay, thank you. I have to look for that. My apologies, Stephen. All right, so want to draw everyone's attention to our recruitment applicants. We've received two. Those are also in the packet on the left-hand side. I believe it was the last document in our folder titled June 4th, 2024 Steering Committee Meeting Recruitment Applicants. And so I want to give you an opportunity to review those if you haven't already. This was sent out ahead of time and we had an opportunity to look at that. If you still need some more time to review, we can do that and then have some discussions on next steps in regards to bringing these applicants on board. So I want to give you a few minutes to take a look at that and then we'll open up some discussions. We'll talk about it. We'll go with the same process when after you've had an opportunity to review it. Put your name in up so that we know where you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that. Looks like everyone has had an opportunity to review online. How about you, Stephen?
I was unable to see a list of anybody.
You said you were unable to hear anything?
Oh, no, I can hear just fine. I wasn't able to see any of the names.
Okay. Oh, the names, do you have it in your packet?
Please take a look at someone. Put it in the chat,
Good job.
just the name, just
It's not good.
the link to it. So the applications, are posted online, and so Sarah is going to, put the link on, in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Stephen, we'll give you, a few minutes to take a look at that. We won't move on with that. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient. Want to make sure we're checking all the boxes tonight. And Stephen, if you can let us know when you receive that, and we'll start some of our discussions here in-house, if anybody has any questions or comments. You do?
This is Stephen. I have reviewed it.
You received it?
Yeah, I've received and reviewed.
Okay, wonderful. All right. All right, so now we can start having our discussion. So currently, as it stands, we do have space to take on additional residents on the steering committee. And so, of course, we've received these two applicants, and it looks like Vincent has some questions or comments in regards. Okay, and so right now, just want to open up, the discussion in regards to the applications that we've received. Any comments on that? Questions?
And I want to remind folks to please use the mic, so Flag and I can bring over a second mic.
Just my comment is just that, I read the applications or applicants, earlier before I got here, and because we have one of the applicants here, should we ask him to speak on his behalf, or where? Would you like to speak on your behalf since you're here?
Sure.
That way we're not talking about you.
Sounds good.
Thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I already introduced myself. My name is Roberto Rizzo. I already mentioned that I've lived in this community for 16 years. And in that time, I've also seen, Sacramento grow and a lot of efforts happening to, improve the quality of life for most of Sacramento residents. But a lot of what's happening in South Sacramento is that movement is a little slower than the rest of the communities around Sacramento. Specifically on social justice and environmental justice. So I would love to participate, in this committee to see if we can close those gaps. As I mentioned in my application, I do have experience working with elected officials and state agencies, creating partnerships to understand, tracking legislation, working with community groups. Some of you I've worked with already in the past, and now I work at a state agency where we're going to be working on closing gaps between services and the people that need them around the state. So I would love to be able to utilize what I learned in this new role with this committee. I'm motivated to join, and if you have any questions about my background or my personal experience, I would love to answer any of those.
You have a question? That is statement. Statement, let's get to the mic, so rather than hear online.
So Morgan Brown, Colin Black, community resident and community activist. Prior to me knowing that Mr. Rizzo was standing behind me, I had read the application and I do believe that based on, while I know that we want to include inclusivity of individuals that may not have much knowledge when it comes to the things that we're working around to get their involvement, just, our regular community members, I feel like having someone of his stature background would be an absolute asset to what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
Talking about somebody sitting on my back. Say that later.
All right, give it. All right, any other questions or comments?
Rhonda, is that from Mr. Park from going forward? All right.
We're gonna go online, and then after online, we will turn it over to public. All right. Do we have, no, Stephen, do you have any questions or comments regarding the applicants?
No questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right. So,
I motion to approve.
okay.
Second.
All right, so we have Morgan Brown, who has made a motion to approve both residents or one? We have two residents, we have two applicants.
Is the second applicant here as well?
No.
Second applicant is not here.
Do that. And I motion to approve the second applicant as well.
Okay.
Can I, just for a second, leave under, nomination?
One second.
I believe, during nomination. Is it on?
Yeah.
During the nomination period or, voting for a new committee member, I believe. I know we're a hodgepodge of Robert's rules, yada, 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 but voting one at a time would be, I think would be the best way to go.
Absolutely.
Motion to approve the first applicant.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
All right, second motion. All right, so we have a first and second motion, and so now at this time, we will receive any public comment on the action. All right, so actually Adrian was first. Thank you.
So Adrian Wren, community member, just wanted to share that I've had the opportunity to work closely with Roberto in his old job, and I think he'll be a great asset for the committee.
Thanks, Adrian. And then we have another public comment over here.
So my name is Jose Saldaña. I'll share my history with this program. I thought relationships with politicians hindered it, that led to injustices. And so I'd like to ask what politicians you necessarily have a relationship with, and who recruited you to this? How did you hear about it? Because again, your credentials to me create a fear of more rubber stamping what the politicians want, because that's what it's been. And if you can share one example of moral courage where you called out these politicians that you work with. Thanks.
Excuse me. So before you respond.
So sorry, Mike?
I got it.
And so I do just want to bring back, just a few housekeeping rules for, public comment. It's okay. I just want to let you know that you are not obligated to provide responses to that. Public comment is really in and around, you can express what your opinions, your ideas, are in regards to the action item, but we will not be taking, discussions or moving, besides the action item as far as asking questions of the applicant that he needs to respond to. So if you have a comment in regards to the motion that was made, we can do that. But to interview the applicant, no.
So Mike?
It's not part of our protocol, so.
And just to clarify, it was said, you said you would have no objection to responding. I just wanted to read that back for the mic, since there wasn't a mic when that was said.
Please provide, you can go ahead and provide a response, but if we can do that quickly, I just don't want to get into we want to make sure that we are staying on topic with the agenda.
Thank you for the question. First, I actually found this committee online, looking for how to participate in this committee. I actually very luckily saw that application was open, and I reached out to Janice right away. I've worked for U.S. Senator Padilla directly, and I worked with most of the elected officials here in Sacramento. As far as I couldn't participate in this type of committees before because there was a conflict of interest with my previous job. So I ended, that I finished with that job on Friday, and now I'm here today on Monday, ready to participate with my community. There is no specific relationship with any elected officials. I just would love to help build those bridges to have the communication.
Thank you.
Do we have any further public comment on this action item? All right, thank you. All right, so now that we are closing, what about online? I'm sorry, we did that in the room, but are there any public comments online? All right, I see none. Coming back to steering committee, we are closing the comment period. And now we are open for the steering committee to have any further discussion. We have a motion to approve both applicants. Yes, Barry.
I'll just be well.
No, we got nothing online. We gotta hear you. We all need mics.
Not a problem. Excuse me, the applicant's background is fantastic. I have no objection to it. One question I do have, which would make me feel more comfortable if I knew who the legislator and or U.S. Senator that the applicant has served. With that said, there is no bias if I dislike that U.S. Senator. It's just the question that was asked by the public comment was, in fact, did the individuals stand, the applicants stand up against something where they felt was wrong? So regardless of who the senator is and or legislator, I just would like to know who that is, and then I could do my own background further on that.
Are you wanting to ask the applicant?
In asking the applicant if he wouldn't mind stating this.
And just so I understand the question, do you want to know who I work with? Yes, with U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, and before that, he was Under Secretary of State. I worked with him both those committees.
Appreciate that.
I'm sorry, there was you wanted him to repeat it. You didn't hear him clearly. The name, if you could restate the names.
It was Senator Alex Padilla.
Senator Alex Padilla.
U.S. Senator Alex Padilla.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I never liked that guy, just jokes.
My goodness. Any further discussion in the room? All right, Stephen, you're online. Any comments before we move to a vote?
No comment. Thank you.
All right, no comment. All right, so we have motions to approve both applicants. Now we can move to steering committee, but Rhonda, you had a comment.
You got a motion for the first applicant, so now we gotta do the second applicant. I thought we back, did the first one, we did the first one. Yeah, so we need to acknowledge the second.
Okay.
That's gonna have a motion.
All right, so for the second app.
That, per the recommendation.
Yep.
Sorry, we just need a mic.
No problem. Per our fellow steering committee recommendation, it was stated we should fulfill the full vote first, then readdress the second vote.
Absolutely.
Since the mic is here,
Absolutely.
I might as well say something, because Mike is here, I don't want you to run back and forth. what's the rush? Is there an opportunity for us to wait for the second applicant to come next time?
No,
Okay, then let's
that's what
just
we
wait.
choose. We want to
Yeah, even with this, Roberto seems like a qualified, good guy, good hair and everything, but so we need to vote right now. Have you done enough vetting?
Nope, I'm good with the vote.
Okay.
All right. That's why I asked for comments. All right, Rhonda.
Was it said earlier that we have room to do both? We want to approve both, we can.
We can, but there was a,
Sorry, Mike.
I'm sorry. Yes, we do have room to accept both applicants. However, there was a recommendation, I believe, from Tito and Barry to wait and maybe have an opportunity to have some further discussion for the second applicant, or be able to have them either in person, or would we like to interview them personally? What was?
My comment. Raised by my comment was a separate vote for anyone that's coming to the committee. That was my totality of it.
Okay. All right. So let's move forward on our first vote, and we'll circle back to the second. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve Roberto Rizzo as an applicant, and as a new member for the steering committee, so we'll get ready to take that vote. Please identify your yes, by using our cards here. Or if you're, okay, we don't have any, yes, I will read off you want me to read off the list as well? Okay. All right. Morgan Brown. Aye. Barry Boyd.
Aye.
Vincent Valdez.
Aye.
Stephanie Williams. Aye. Rhonda Henderson.
Aye.
Ward Winchell.
Aye.
Tito Home.
Yes, ma'am.
Stephen Street.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think I got everyone in the room. I got all of our steering committee members. All right, motion to approve. Thank you. We are all approved. Thank you. All right, next item is we're going to go back again and we're going to take a look at our second applicant. So of course, that information is also included on the same sheet. Want to open up for any discussions that we have concerning the second applicant. Morgan already has her card up. Oh, you're done. Okay. No, you're just saying that you're done. Okay, is there anyone else that still needs to review Morgan? Still that needs to review the second applicant?
This is Steve Street. I still need to review that one. It wasn't attached for the first link that was posted.
For the second applicant?
Correct, the second applicant wasn't there.
It's in the same document. You may have to continue to scroll.
Interesting, okay. Ah, I see it, sorry. It was just shorter on the bottom. Sorry about that.
We'll give you a few minutes to take a look at that. If you can just let us know when you have had an opportunity to review that information.
And just a quick time check, it is 6:53. We did start 11 minutes late. However, we have a few more action items.
Okay, I've reviewed.
All right. All right, now that everyone has had an opportunity to review the second applicant, does anyone want to make a motion either way?
A motion to approve.
All right, we have one motion to approve.
Second, okay.
All right, we have a second. All right. Now it's time for public comment on this action item. Is there anyone in the public that has, that would like to express any comments or any concerns regarding our second applicant? That's also included in your packet.
I'm just curious how many CSC members this brings you guys to, and how many are allowed?
21 is allowed. 21 is allowed.
With these two, will be fine.
With these two, it will be 16. I'm just repeating back what was said since we didn't have a mic. Any other public comment?
And that would give us room to add another organization or community, group if they wanted to.
And then, Vincent, sorry, could you pass the mic for this? Thank you.
Hi, so I had previously wanted to be a member, but I didn't qualify because of where I live. So now that you guys are thinking about expanding, do you think that me living in this neighborhood would allow me to be a member? Or apply at least?
Right now, we're doing the new member application, but we will be talking about the boundaries coming up and the availability to the new community members if possible.
And I was just asking if you can repeat it on the mic. So no more residents, just organizations are allowed out of those 5, or can a resident apply?
Of the 21 positions on our steering committee, 11 of them will be residents and 10 will be organizations. And right now, I believe we're at 16, so we're not near that. We still have per our charter, we need to have one more resident than an organization on our committee to have the balance that we have in our charter, so.
All right, I'll submit my application by this weekend.
Ooh, great.
I just wanted to have you repeat the question since there wasn't an opportunity for folks online to hear the question.
Thank you, Britta.
I was asking if there was still room for residents on the community steering committee, because I am a resident of South Sac and I'll apply by this weekend and we'll take it from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have an application on hand right now?
It's online.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jose. All right, any public comments online? I think we've heard in the room on this action item. Anything? All right. Okay, we have another public comment.
Herman Barahona with Saki JC. We've been at this for about 5 years now, and I'm glad that this is opening up to the community. That's a very refreshing effort. So we definitely we're gonna encourage our neighbors throughout South Sac to apply for the remaining positions.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, and there was no public comment online, correct? All right, we are now coming back to steering committee. We are closing public comment.
And this applicant has attended the subcommittee meeting, and also the outreach subcommittee meeting as well. Okay, steering committee, further discussion. Anybody else have any discussion?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's on.
Yeah, I'm not hearing, sorry, it's just me. Quick question. Just going through the registered committee members, just so I'm clear, and if anybody else may have confusion. I'm counting 4 organizations, and then the rest residents. There are multiple residents that also is resident, organization. My question is, I guess for Janice, are those that are, where it's written resident, and then their organization, are they here as a organizational representative, or are they here as a resident that just happens to belong to an organization as well? So the count would be different. It would be 7 residents or 4 organizations, meaning several more organizations could come forward in addition to several more residents.
So David, I'll go ahead and answer that. So the residence application, they're advocating for members are on as residents. But they also are representing other organizations in the community. Just to clarify, what, Alderman, what you mentioned about the makeup. So there is no restriction on how many residents could be, part of the steering committee, as long as there's a majority of residents. So if the remaining positions or remaining vacancies are residents, that's fine as well. It's up to the steering committee on how they want to make up the rest of the committee.
Just for clarity. Yeah, just for my clarity, so would you give us the number of actual residents that are on the committee and the actual number of organizations that are on the committee?
So
currently there's 7 residents and then 7 non-residents.
It's there. So what happened was Jamala Green was a resident, and so we had, one more resident, and we had organization on our committee, meeting our charter commitment, and, she moved. And so she's no longer a resident in our community. And so she's waiting to come back on possibly as a, community member who works in the community. So, but we're 7 to 7, 7 residents to 7 organizations right now.
So Jamal is no longer.
The question was if Jamala was still with us. The answer was no. And additionally, I just want to remind folks quickly of the time. It is 7, and we have draft boundaries and bus tour to get through still.
Thank you for staying on the book.
All right, so it sounds like we, and Barry, I think you said that resolved your question, correct?
Right.
All right, wonderful. All right, so motion, I believe did we have one motion? Is there a second motion to approve the second application? You seconded. Ward did, seconded. All right, let's get ready to vote. I am going to, when I call, we can go ahead and I'll just call your name and you can say yes. Ward Winchell.
Yes.
Rhonda Henderson.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams, yes. Vincent Valdez.
Yes.
Barry Boyd.
Yes.
Morgan Brown.
Yeah.
Tito Home.
Yes.
All right.
Online.
Stephen Street. I wasn't done.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Stephen. All right. The motion has been accepted and we now have accepted our 2 new resident members to the steering committee.
Move to the table now?
All right, next we have action item number 2 and 3. I'm gonna turn it back over to Britta to introduce that. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, so now is the really long-awaited, very exciting part of the meeting where we will talk about draft community boundaries and we will identify areas for the bus tour. Got a little ahead of myself there. So basically, we are going to do an activity to do this. Before we jump into the activity, we will hear from the district who will present some information about both of these items. And after the district presents on these items, we will go into a group activity. Because we are on a tight timeline, it will be timed. So I will be going around, Veronica will be going around, we'll make sure we're on task, we'll make sure we're on topic. And we will be identifying and discussing community boundaries and bus tour areas using online tools, which we'll get to, and printed maps that are here in the room. We will then, those are gonna be in small groups. So we will then come back, we will share reflections and the highlighted prioritized areas. And then based off that, we're gonna debrief. We will then get to consensus or have an overall identified draft boundaries. And we will also have the bus tour stops. And before we dive into this more, I want to once again emphasize that the draft boundaries are a draft. So we do need to decide a draft today. However, after deciding the draft today, it will go to public comment for a whole 30 days. then the steering committee will come back, will consider the public comment, maybe potentially make amendments, and then vote on a final. So the final is not today. We do need to get a final draft, but the final draft is not necessarily the final boundaries, if that makes sense. That's for the boundaries. For the bus tour, that is happening between now and the next meeting in July. So that does need to be decided today. Are there questions about those things? Let me bring you a mic.
Is the boundaries discussion strictly about the CERT boundaries, or does it include moving the community air monitoring boundaries so that this neighborhood or neighborhoods that aren't included can know what's in their air? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Because of the order of operations that we have here, we're not answering that in the moment, but it is part of the record. So thank you. Okay, so that's for action items 2 and 3. So the activity is for the bus tour and the boundaries, right? We will then have a discussion on the boundaries, which will lead to, the normal set of protocol that we have, which is hearing a discussion, there will be public comment, then the steering committee will vote. So that's the same sort of process that we always have. And as it says here, we will take written public comment on the draft boundaries until July 12th and vote on them in the July steering committee meeting. Okay. Okay, so now we're in district presentation, so I'll pass it to Janice to go over some of the tools. Next slide, please.
All right, so, as, you guys might see in the room, there are 3 areas in which we're gonna break out into small groups. And, we had worked with the SERB subcommittee to talk about what type of resources the steering committee might want to use along with your lived experiences and what the community boundary should be. And so at each of the tables, you're going to have a map, a big map that you see that you can draw on. There's also a map of where the sources are at, areas of concern from the survey that you guys have received, results and feedback from that. You have also an ability to go on CalEnviroscreen if you wanted to, look at the different areas and use that information. Same thing with the SMED Sustainable Community Resource Map, Healthy Place Index. The California Air Resources Board also has developed a air toxics assessment tool, as well as information on where the air quality permit locations are at. And so as you break out into groups, we'll have staff that's going to be roaming around if you have questions on the different tools that you might be using. We also have a QR code that you can use to click on the links on your phone. If you want to pull it out on your personal phone, we have computers where you can pull it up online as well. And if you guys wanted to discuss on a bigger screen.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna hop back, really quick. So now that we have, and I'll keep, when we're in the groups, I will keep, this screen up with the tools, that way you can use that. But what we're going to do is get into, I think, 3 groups. And then we will figure out, Stephen, we'll figure out, since it's just you, we'll follow up with you via chat about what you're gonna do. But we are gonna get into 2 to 3 groups, and what you're going to do is identify the areas of concern on the maps. So within your group, if you can reach consensus, that is preferred. But if you have varying consensus, make sure to note that on your map. And when you share out, we can identify priorities. So top priority can be something that everyone agrees upon, right? If you have a medium priority, maybe two people agree on it, but someone doesn't. And low priority would be if it is maybe high priority for an individual, but the group does not agree. So, and then also identify areas that you would like on the bus tour. Regarding the bus tour, there's no minimum or maximum. The bus is driving by, it is not making stops, and whatever decisions we make will then have to be approved and vetted by the bus company. So just consider that when you're making these decisions, and if you have questions, we will hop around and answer them. And I'll quickly pass it back to Janice.
And for our remote participants, you know, you're obviously not in the room with us, but you do have the tools and links available to you. So as we get back into a group to debrief, we're able to consider your comments and thoughts during that time.
All right, so I am now going to just number off the steering committee, and then based on your number, you will go to a corresponding station for this activity. There are 3 stations, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and just so everyone's aware, the public can join these stations. So you're welcome to join as well. I'm just gonna number off the steering committee first, and since we have 5 members of the public, I can come number you after. So 1, 2, 3. Vincent is 1.
Okay, I'm over there.
Okay, well, you are there. 2, 3, 1, 2. And then members of the public, could you raise your hand if you'd like to be part of a group and I can number you up?
Can I just be in Tito's group?
All right. Okay, so that was Tito, what was your number? 2. All right, so you'll be 1, and then you can be 3. All right, so, okay, and 1. Okay, and so number 1 is going to be back in this left corner. Number 2 will be right here, and then number 3 will be right over here. Number 3. Okay. 3. I remember you from here, so maybe like. Oh, 1. Right. All right, quick announcement. It is 7:12 and we are going to start with 15 minutes, which I think puts us at 7:27. We will come back. 7:27. I'll be giving you reminders as we get close. Came up with a recommendation.
Original boundary here on.
To the last, it's like. Yes. Yes.
Please, if you can hear me, please listen up. For the bus tour identification, feel free to circle areas. Doesn't matter how big or small, but please circle areas for the bus tour that you are interested in. Thank you.
You guys can mark any single one on here, and all these are. Oh, yeah, there are two discussions there, one that's saying. Also, areas, one here. You have a lot. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you can have discovered that.
So.
Attention, attention, 5-minute warning, 5-minute warning. 5 minutes is a long time, but it's also not long at all when you need it to be. So please do with that what you will. Please make sure you have something on your map that you can share back. All right, the time is now. It is 7:27. Groups, please identify someone to share back on your behalf. It can be more than one of you, but I need someone to tell me how to interpret these maps. So groups 1, 2, and 3, please identify someone. Please identify someone. Grab whoever's presenting, please grab your map and make your way back to take a seat. That way we can share back and hear from everyone.
All right, actually, I asked for it. Thank you for the meeting.
Okay, please have determined who's going to share back. I see some final last call decisions being made, and I want to reiterate that these are draft boundaries. When your steering committee members, once you are ready and settled, please put your name placard up. That way I know you're ready to share back. And then you guys. All right, I'm not seeing people make their way back to their seats, so I'd like to do a final call. I have let 2 minutes slip. You're welcome, but please finish up and make it back to your seat in the next minute, please.
Number one, group one is down. Group six down.
Extra points to group 1 for being on it.
Current captain group what? No, captain group.
See, Erica's over there still on there.
You should put her address up there right down there.
Yeah. You guys keep trying, we're gonna start the conversation.
I mean, I don't know if you which, but. All right, it is 7:30. Does every group have a representative to share back for them identified?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we do.
All right. So before we share back, I just want to quickly go over how we're going to do this. Since there were a few different groups and we also have some online people. So, basically, we're going to go group 1, group 2, group 3, and then have the online steering committee share if they'd like. That way they can listen to what was reported on by the other groups since they weren't here in person to be part of these discussions. So we want to give them the opportunity to hear what other groups did and then be able to share back if they'd like. And after we hear back from all the groups, then at that point, there will be some ideas of what the draft boundaries should be. We will put those on the map. That will then go in the chat, that way people online can see. And then after that, there will be a motion, a vote on the draft boundaries. And then, like I said, public comment is open until July 12th. So if, for example, maybe you didn't get to use all the tools you wanted to today because we only had 15 minutes, you can go back and look at those tools, then amend, and then make a public comment that includes whatever tools you'd like or information that's being heard today. So I just wanted to reiterate that we're gonna vote, or the steering committee will determine a vote on the draft boundaries, but once again, they're not gonna be finalized until July. Just wanted to go over that sort of like order of operations of how we're gonna share back. And then for the public, after there is a motion and a second, that is when the public comment will happen in this space, but once again, it will be open for 30 days. Does anyone have any questions about that procedure before we dive into sharing back? Okay. Not seeing any online either. All right, so I'm going to invite group one, whether it's just one of you or whether a few of you want to come up and talk. I'd like to invite you up to come present on your boundary map and bus tour stops. And yeah. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yes, actually, let me figure out, I think each group can have, okay, actually, sorry, before we dive in. So at this time, when groups share, we are not gonna have questions and comments back and forth during the group sharing. We are gonna save that for the steering committee discussion. So groups presenting will each get 4 minutes to present, which is more time than you think it is. So they will have 4 minutes. They can yield their time if they like. And then if you have questions or comments as steering committee or public, we will wait till the steering committee discussion and the public comment to answer those. All right, so I have time on the clock. Are you ready to start your presentation?
Yes.
All right, time is on the clock and I pass you the mic.
All right, hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Brown. We're group one.
Hey. Herman Barahona with Sacramento EJ Coalition.
So based on the discussion that we had, I did like a tentative line for where we're at right now. We were speaking on expanding the boundaries all the way up to Fruit Ridge. Once we get to Fruit Ridge, looking at coming up Stockton Boulevard, down to 12th and down to 21st, based on research and studies, not only from Valley Vision, but also from the research from air monitors that are in that area, that also is a high lead area. Is that correct?
That's,
High lead pollution.
within the, I can talk about, go ahead.
So, high pollution area, then bringing it down Fruit Ridge, coming along down Freeport, and then this way tackling over where the airport's at, where it has high pollution from airport, and then coming down over by Consumers, down to Franklin, coming around down this way, kind of like an imaginary line, because it passes through Franklin, Bruceville, Highway 99, and Bond, going up to Calvine, thank you. And then now bringing it back up down Elk Grove, Florida. And these happen to be high industrial areas that also help to increase the pollutants in that area.
So just to repeat about 8617, in the law, it says that we're supposed to focus on the cumulative effect of pollution, especially from non-mobile sources. So this expansion that we're proposing includes some major non-mobile sources that we're concerned about. And so expanding those boundaries would be a good idea for this project and the folks that are involved. That's it.
Yielding time. Thank you. All right, group two representative, please. Group two representative and your map. Or representatives plural, once again, you can have more than one person.
Come on, babe.
Now I want to be shot, yeah.
Sorry, could you please come up here to present?
Oh,
Just so it's closer to the owl. Thank you, and let me know when you're ready so we can start your timer.
So we discussed expanding the boundaries all the way up to Broadway. To Broadway. And then bringing it all the way down, Freeport. Bringing it down on Freeport and crossing over when you get to Bond Road. Okay, sorry. So we expanded the boundaries up to, we expanded to, what did I say it was? Broadway, bringing it all the way over to Freeport, and then bringing it down and crossing over at Bond Road, and bringing it out to, where's that street? Mayhew, what is that right there? Yeah, Mayhew Road, and bring it up to Jackson Road, and then back over to Jackson Road to, what is this? Broadway, it kind of connects back over to Broadway, and that way we can cover all the hot spots that are in red on there. We can cover all those hot spots. Back when Aaron.
You're good.
Yeah, some of our reasoning for expanding the boundaries so much is that a CERT is you're directing resources to polluters, and this, we thought it allowed us to catch a lot more folks who might be polluting outside of the community, but their emissions flow towards the community.
Good morning, Zay. The last part we talked about was the tour bus, but you mentioned there's a limitation on what they allow, what they willing to do, how much gas they have, you know, so.
Electricity.
It's an electric bus.
Electric bus, car they did the night before. We believe the last time we really learned a lot from going through the various communities, those like out here in Northwood, Stockton Boulevard, so I think we should do the same thing. In addition to all the hot spots that we mentioned on the map before. Can I answer that?
Yeah, regarding the tour, we marked some streets off of Martin Luther King between the industrial park and the highway. And there's a lot of dense urban housing. I think it would help with the community tour if, while they're seeing these things, the steering committees be given ideas about types of things they can suggest for a CERT. So for instance, in really heavy dense housing near the freeway, you guys might talk about indoor air filtration for those folks. And so regardless of who lives in that apartment or doesn't, they could have some type of indoor air that's protecting them. That's like a CERP idea. And then the Southgate Industrial Park we mentioned because
1 minute warning.
okay, I know there's a cold storage facility there. And as a CERP suggestion, you guys could suggest that they install charging at the facility so that they're running off electricity and not idling to keep stuff cold. And so it would just help to, you know, highlight things like that. And that's kind of why we selected that area, to be able to point those things out.
Right, Mr. Blaine, a great point. I think the fact that that community is very, very integrated, diverse, I think it's shedding some light on who lives there. The various demographics, some of us have moved out, other communities have moved in, then the last are still affected by clean air and all that. So we want to share some of that inside perspective as well. And they got good food there too.
All right, 10 seconds remaining. Thank you, group 2. I'd like to invite group 3 representatives to come up and share. Right here now.
Advancing. Oh.
I'm blocking the screen, am I? Yeah.
All right, group 3, your time starts now.
All right, so we took a look, I'm gonna start with the bus tour. Where's my glasses? Okay, someone's right there, he's gonna come over. So the bus tour, I think we took kind of some of the similar approach that others have. We really wanted to expand it down to, ooh. Go ahead, sorry, we gotta get my glasses. Right, there you go.
Expanding the bus tour, what we did was a big, circle just to encompass everything. We haven't gotten itemized, but again, this will be more discussion. But so we didn't want to leave anything else, so we wanted to bring in the Sacramento wastewater treatment as far south, which is the Sacramento city line, going to west to Freeport. Actually, I think I-5. But I find in about that Thorn Road coming into Freeport Boulevard and, for the western boundary into the bus tour, and then maintaining north on Freeport Boulevard to US 50. Again, there's more discussion going on. We just want to encompass everybody. The northern boundary would be US 50 and east to South One Avenue, which turns into Bellgrove, Lawrence, due south back to the city line, more or less to the west.
So that is for the bus tour, and as far as the boundaries, we took a look at what the recommendations are and have expanded these boundaries to include, so to go down to Laguna Boulevard, up, this is Franklin, to the Silver River Boulevard, up to Freeport. Then we are coming back around across, that's, 14th Avenue all the way to South Watt, and then over Florida. And so we've kind of expounded it, a little bit based on some of either the water waste treatment facility. There's also several dumps that were included in the area of Jackson and South Watt to include those. And then there was also some areas, I forget what we had over here, but near Stockton and Max. Also, one of the things that we also pointed out, which is included in the boundaries, Eric, can you talk a little bit about Victory?
So I sit on the South Sacramento CPAC, and we have had, I would just like a handful. It seems like the projects that we are voting on continue to be trucking, like diesel trucks are gonna be parked, 30 plus diesel trucks, and it's all scattered around Stockton Boulevard, up and down. And it's one after the other, and so we don't have anything right now tracking what's, PM 2.5, cancer risks and all that stuff, so that was one of my concerns that I brought up in doing this activity, was that are these facilities like outside, right on the boundaries, or are they included inside the boundaries? We did make sure that. 1 minute warning. Thank you. We did make sure that this one that I was talking about was included already in the boundaries. I will be doing an off agenda comment later and give you guys a map so that you can see what I'm talking about.
That's it. Thank you.
Just before closing, you'll see the notice or the difference between the bus tour and the CERC boundaries. This area here is almost all residential, except for the Gulf Shores Shopping Center. As far as the gross polluter, I don't think that's really happening from that area. Yes, pollution flows in west of that, flows in east from the rice field, but it is heavier in the Meadowview neighborhood, which is adjacent to Delta Shores, but being the boundary at Casitas River Boulevard includes the Meadowview neighborhood, which is one of the highest contaminated polluted areas in Sacramento as well. And we have a big part this one of the golf course, so that's what this open chunk is here. But for the bus tour, if we would take it to the wastewater treatment plant in this area, just so anybody was.
Thank you, time is up. All right, so now that we've heard those 3 presentations, I will first pass it to Stephen from online, Stephen, the online steering committee member. Since you were able to hear the presentations being given and since photos were put in the chat of the different groups' maps, I invite you to reflect. You do
Okay.
have 4 minutes, but if you don't use all of it, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not really gonna use much of it at all. I was able to zoom in and actually see the presentation, which was really helpful. And I coordinated it with the maps that I have. And I really don't have anything to add. I think all 3 groups did a really good job. So rather than waste anybody's time, I'll let you guys get that back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. We are just coordinating, another online participant. And so just giving a moment to hear from them. And while we're waiting to hear from them, I will, go over what we're gonna do next. So now that we've seen the different map presentations, I am going to take a blank map. I am going to draw on the common shared lines that we saw. And then for areas where we do not have consensus between the different maps, I am going to draw what was the biggest. And because that needs to go for steering committee discussion. So I'm going to be drawing the biggest that was reflected. And if you think it should be made smaller, if you think it should change, you will discuss that during steering committee discussion. But because there is not necessarily total consensus at this point, I'm going to be going off of the widest drawn range for you all to then consider, comment, discuss. So just wanted to put that out there. Can I read it? Okay. So, Michael Lampkin put in their thoughts via chat. So they said, I agree with Stephen, all groups said it perfectly, and I like the direction group 2 is going. Thanks, Michael. So now I'm going to, if I could have a few people to come up and hold the maps, that way I can like look at them and draw at the same time. I really appreciate that. And then I will share back verbally what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should stand in order.
Oh, yes.
Which one is this? Group 1 or 3?
That's 3.
Okay.
It's two. Two.
Yeah, that's 2.
Two.
All right. Okay, I'm seeing. Visual. All right, so it looks like, I'll say what I'm seeing and then draw it. So it looks like the northernmost, there's no shared, boundary in the north. So I'm going to draw the northernmost, from what I'm seeing, which is from, it's 1, 2, 3, yeah. So from group 1, the northernmost boundary is what I'm going to be drawing on the map. So, sorry, Adrian, I'm gonna have you move just so I can then draw it over here, and Veronica, may I please see that? First, okay. Yeah, that's boundaries, yeah. Oh, boundaries, oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm back.
Boundaries are red.
Boundaries are red. That is clearly written and color coded and I missed it. Okay, so then the furthest north we have, is going to be from map 2, which is Broadway, until it hits Jackson Road. So I will now draw that on the map intersecting with, intersecting with Freeport. Okay, this map actually is confusing. Right. Do you want to just use a different color and use that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just do that. We're getting a different color since color coding is hard.
The green flag, yeah. Right. So it's
Oh, dry? Okay, it's got another pen. There's a black one on the side, and I think there's blue and red and green. All right, can you please have the black? Here you go. Okay. This is a collective effort. Yeah, okay. And then it's, but Jackson intersects right here. Where does this go? It goes through Granite. Oh, okay, through Granite to Jackson. All right, I'm drawing that on nice and thick. All right. Okay, so that was the northernmost boundary. So now we can cover the west boundary. So looking at 1, 2, and 3, there is shared commonality actually between 1, 2, and 3 for the northern part of the west boundary. So I'm going to, and then since we're going based off the biggest, that's going to be, this is 2, right? Yeah, so 2, oh, no, part of this cuts over, so that's the best, okay. Okay, so,
Number 1 wanted South Quad, but we drew the old, the other one. Number 2, number 1.
South Quad,
okay, thanks.
So they're looking at the west side, right?
I'm looking at the west boundary. Yeah, so from here over, and it does look like, I'm trying not to mix up the bus and the boundaries. It does look like they all have Freeport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freeport, yep, all right. And then I'm looking at where it stops going down. So this stops further up, but it does include, I want to make sure that I note this little piece of land, on the left-hand side of 5. All right, yeah, and that goes right here through this one. And then this one also has, the Southland Park Drive, and that's the furthest. No, they had this area as well. Can we bring over this one, please? So it goes down. And then I want to include, no, wait, sorry, this one.
Map number 3 is Freeport Boulevard.
Yeah, this one, sorry, actually. Come back. Yeah, 2 goes to the left of 5, which is important. 2. Yeah, Bond Road. It looks like this is cut straight through a neighborhood though, so I think I'm just gonna cut it through the neighborhood because that's what was drawn. Okay. But it was, I think it's just, no, it went through, they go through.
I believe they're all chasing the city, line, city limit line, just north of Bond.
I wish the city limit was shown on this map.
It's not on any of them, it's just, you doesn't know what's there.
So. Gonna Boulevard. It's, okay.
I mean, that's like.
Okay, so just to share back, and then wait, sorry, I need this left area. It's on. Okay, and this one goes over into this land. Yeah. All right. So this is Freeport Boulevard to the south. It goes over, the unincorporated land and green space. It goes across through Laguna Boulevard until, is it still Laguna Boulevard?
Yeah.
Yeah, until it hits Elk Grove, Florin. And then this, group 2 went further east than Elk Grove, Florin. And so I want to make sure, I want to note that, hold on, y'all can't keep looking at your map when I'm trying to look at it. Okay, so it looks like. I'm just trying to observe the shared commonalities between numerous maps. So I'm gonna read what I'm seeing on the east-hand side. So, this is group 3. Group 3, okay, this is group 3, and then this is 2, and that's 1. All right, so group 1, went down on Florence Perkins Road to French Road, cut over, and then went down, so it is west of Elk Grove Florence Road. And then group 2 went further east, went the furthest east, and then Route 3 went down Elk Grove Corridor. So because I said that we're gonna go the furthest east, we're gonna go through Mayhew Road. Yes, thank you. Which on this map, it's off this map. Okay, well, I'm gonna write Mayhew. I'm writing Mayhew. All right, so just reflecting back, we now have north, south, east, and west boundaries that are based off of the furthest that we saw on the map when there was not shared commonality. That is the draft for steering committee comment. So now that we have those, we can go ahead. Thank you to all my helpers for holding the map. I think we're gonna have this main one right here, but then I do want to have the groups shared next to each other. That way when people are commenting, they can see what they're commenting on. So now that we have a draft based off of the different discussions that were happening today by the public and the steering committee, we can go ahead and move to steering committee discussion. So I will pass it back to the co-leads to go through the steering committee discussion.
Okay, so it looks like where we have landed, we have come up with draft boundaries. And so based on what has been mapped out on our final map, map 1, 2, 3, have all come together. We need to make a determination if we want to move forward and accept this as our draft boundary. So for steering committee, is there any further discussion on that based on what's been presented? Is there anything that was left out? All right. Or
I have a question, if expanding the boundaries reduce our funding opportunities in any way, or if it only enhances funding opportunities?
So the question was whether or not it's gonna reduce the funding. So, the funding doesn't get reduced, but it's where you're able to spend the funding. So.
And then I do want to note that we started 11 minutes late. So even though it is 7:59, we started 11 minutes late, just for everyone's consideration.
So in addition, to this complex process, I'll introduce another one. So we did get a clarification from ARB. So Janice is right, it does not give up or reduce our funding, but the funding opportunity to spend the dollars, we would think that it does because the boundaries are bigger. We are being more utilization. But what ARB really requires us to prioritize is Cal Environment 4.0, which doesn't change. So you can make it more to the south, more to the west, the east, but the 4.0 criteria for Cal Environment is the same.
Right, do we have any other comments, any other questions? All right. All right, so, does anyone want to make a motion to accept our, wait a minute, are we going back to public comment? Where are we?
So that's not.
So we've already, what about online? Stephen, Michael, do you have any comments to add to this?
So, sorry, just to clarify the process really quick. So right now, we are in steering committee discussion.
Right.
There will be a motion, a second, and then the public will be able to comment on the motion on the floor.
Right. Okay, so we had comments here. Eric, did you have any comments? Okay, so I just want to just check with Stephen and Michael online. Do you have anything else to add?
This is Stephen. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
And Michael doesn't have anything to add.
All right.
Sarah read Michael's chat, which was that they don't have anything to add.
Thank you.
I do.
All right.
You're on this.
Okay, so since I was moving furniture, I didn't get to talk, but I really do, hope that we at least move to the southwest barrier on the east side of our boundary, because I think it's important to include all those industries in that area. And, seeing that if we go farther than that, I think it's even better, but at least move it to southwest.
I have a comment.
Just to clarify, sorry, we're not in public comment yet. I'm sorry.
I'll try to make it brief, based on, I know what you were saying there. So from a CARP perspective, though we move the boundaries as we come up with proposals to reduce emissions. I take a look at some of those areas along, you know, and much to what, our Jose was helping us in there. As we take a look at some of those Title V areas where we expect there's heavy pollution coming from. If you take a look from a CalEnviro screen 4.0, those are more yellow, whereas the communities that are being impacted are more red, which is, you know, on that CalEnviro screen. So what I'm wondering, Jaime, if in expanding the boundaries, once we start talking about projects, because those Title V are not in the higher scoring for CalEnviro screen, are we not going to potentially be allowed to implement projects that would reduce the emissions coming from those? I don't know if I'm making sense about what I'm saying.
Yes, you are, and we won't be prohibited from funding or doing projects in those, for those facilities, but they will rank lower. Because priority goes to the highest night or.
Yeah, well, so as a follow-up, if through the CERT planning process, including those areas, we would be able to cite those areas and include them in our plan because we can show data that they may indeed be polluting in those areas that are higher.
No, because they have to be vetted through 4.0 only. So, it's been a conversation that we've had with ARB about how there's a little bit of a disconnect with the CERT geography, and how those should be prioritized versus the 4.0. However, the legislature has a priority percentage that projects and investments must be funded within the CalEnviro in 4.0. And I forget, it's like an 80% requirement or something like that. You might be able to remind me of that percentage. But we have to hit that target statewide, so every area district has a priority to spend in those 4.0 criteria.
Thank you.
And if I could just follow up to that, I'm Kevin Alpine with the Area Resources Board, the Office of Community Air Protection. And what Jaime is talking about specifically is strategies that involve its CAP incentive funds. So when you move into implementation, you may have some strategies that involve monitoring, some strategies that involve permit reviews, that may involve enforcement and other regulations, but incentives are part of it, and we do try to prioritize funds in areas that are above the 75th percentile in CalEnviro screen, includes areas that have a higher cumulative pollution burden. It isn't a sole requirement. I would say about 90% of our funds are within those top 25%. So it doesn't preclude incentives from being in those areas, and we consider when we look at every incentive project, a lot of different factors, including CalEnviro screen. So if there's enough information to sort of point to an individual source, there's a lot of other things that might not in terms of being concerned, industry or local communities being involved in it. I think we have obviously funded projects like that in the past, but the vast majority, we do really try to target areas that have high cumulative pollution.
Thank you.
But again, that's only for CAP incentives.
Thank you.
So on number 2, we included the areas that
It's on.
Yeah, just.
Okay, we included the areas that were high, 90% or more, most impacted by expanding it more to the east. So, yes, that's the east. So we took that into consideration, so I'm thinking that would probably be covered when we did the service.
Just want to note, we have 5 minutes until we are at the end of our scheduled 2-hour allotment. We will be extending the meeting just by a few minutes to cover an additional item that is needed, and we'll cover that in a minute, but I just wanted to let you all know, 5 minutes until we're at the end of our scheduled 2 hours.
Can we include the public comments now?
We have to make a motion.
Yeah, there has to be a motion on the floor for public comment to happen.
Make a motion to accept the map that Rita made as our
Draft boundary.
draft boundaries. Thank you.
Second, Tito.
All right, public comment time.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment?
So I asked this question earlier, and I would just kind of like to get a response on the record that we are also talking about moving the air monitoring boundaries along with the CERT boundaries. I'd like some clarification about how that affects funding, because I think it does come out of 2 different pots. And lastly, I think to Mr. Falcon's comment, does it hinge on benefit 4.0 communities? Because the way Cal Enviro Screens works is that it's population based. And so where Procter and Gamble and all that industries that there are no people. And so it won't rank really high on Cal Enviro Screen, but those emissions are directly affecting a community in the 90th percentile. So I think maybe the question is, how can we target those communities that we know are creating that really high percentile, but aren't in the percentile themselves because there's no people there. So they don't rank on Cal Enviro Screen. But more important than anything, I just want confirmation that we're talking about moving the camp boundaries as well. And if you guys need more funding for that, I will go ask for more funding if you guys expand the camp boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Do we have additional public comment? Yes.
It's just easier for everyone to see me if I come here.
The house does follow around.
Okay, good. So, hello, my name is Jennifer Golden, and I am the Neighborhood Association President of the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association. Mangan Park is located there on the map, just barely inside this boundary at Freeport and Fruit Ridge, and our southern boundary is Executive Airport. Now, I've read through the supplemental materials for this evening, and it includes the Cal Enviro screen. I always want to say scan, but it's screen, as well as the SMUD communities map. And Mangan Park, on the Enviro scan, if you just look at the map, it's this mild yellow. This section up here appears just this mild yellow, while this looks redder. But if you look a little closer, the census tract for Mangan Park and Hollywood Park is above, is north of Fruit Ridge, and Mangan Park is south. Tests in the 94th percentile for asthma in the state. 94th percentile. Only 6% of census tracts in the state of California have a higher rate of asthma. It's right here on the edge of this boundary, right here. Why, we don't know. My neighborhood, about 8 years ago, was tested and treated for toxic levels of lead in our soil. But since then, with the help of United Latinos, Richard Falcon, Vincent Valdez, who are here with you this evening, we worked on the testing, and Mangan Park's air quality monitor tested with higher levels of lead than the control on Franklin Boulevard, close to the industrial areas. So that gives us a hint. So when you're looking at the Cal Enviro scan that is in your supplemental materials, that yellow that's mild isn't so mild. If you also look at the household lead in the Cal Enviro screen, Mangan Park is still testing 86th percentile. Now then, we haven't been changing the building. Where the air quality monitor was 2 years ago, Mangan Park was on our pool house roof with no new construction.
Please wrap up, sorry, it's 8:11, thank you for your understanding.
So, I appreciate your consideration this evening and hope that you will look at the map with read a little further and know that we are extremely concerned about the air quality in this corner, and please include this corner in the final map. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your comment. Thank you. Yes, so we have a comment online, so I'm gonna walk over. No? Is there anybody online? Is there anyone online who would like to speak? All right, seeing none, I would like to remind everyone that we are taking final public comment, written comment until July 12th. So if you have additional things to add, if you would like to change recommendations, add new things, etc., you can do so via written public comment that the steering committee will consider at the next meeting. I'll pass it back to Stephanie.
All right, thank you. So we've had our public comment. We are back here for our steering committee. Is there any other points of discussion for the steering committee? We do have a motion to first and a second to accept the draft boundaries. Do we need to discuss anything further, or are we ready to? Barry has an additional comment or question?
Off the top, I am in support of the motion. I just wanted to make it clear for all those who may not have heard an answer, but it's Kevin Hall. He could actually answer in regards to will the extended proposed SERP boundary also include the camp boundary? It had been asked and answered in prior meetings, but it is, I believe, up to this committee to say yes, it will extend the camp boundary to where the proposed SERP boundary goes, and or it could be different. Could stay the camp as they are, and then the SERP be extended or decreased boundary. If I have that wrong, please stand up, Kevin, failed it wrong.
Do we have that question noted and we're gonna answer that in a later date?
Right, for the second time, all of the comments and questions that have come in, we do have a mechanism for responding to those. For the sake of time, I think that's a deeper discussion that we need to have, and not something that can be answered in just a few seconds, but it is noted, and we are making a commitment to come back and to provide a response, and so the district will have that available. Can I put us on for when can we expect to provide responses to these comments that have come in?
Response to the comments about whether.
We had a couple of comments, we had a couple of public comments, in and around what Barry just talked about, the expansion of the SERP boundaries, where that also includes camp. So we do need to provide some type of response back. I know that we can't do it in this meeting, but I did want to assure, that public comment would be addressed and would be responded to.
Ultimately, the decision is going to be, from the steering committee, whether or not it's going to be community boundaries, which includes camp and the SERP. So I'll defer to you guys on that. And obviously, bigger boundaries means you're, spreading it on this larger area. So obviously, it's going to have some resource impacts, but we can talk about how to spend those and how to prioritize that funding as well.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Just for that point of clarification. And so I'm sorry, we just closed public comment, but we will continue to take those.
Until July 12th.
Until July 12th. Back to steering committee. We have two things that we need to address tonight. Are we ready for a vote to accept the draft boundaries?
Yes.
All right. We're ready. Please lift your cards, and then I'm gonna do a roll call. All right, starting, Ward Winchell.
Yes.
Rhonda Henderson.
Yes.
Stephanie Williams, yes. Vincent Valdez.
Yes.
Barry Boyd.
Yes.
Morgan Brown.
Yes.
Tito Hong.
Yes.
Stephen Street.
Yes.
Michael Lampkin.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, we have now accepted our draft boundary as it is drawn, and mapped out here. Another point of discussion is we need to make a decision on whether or not we are going to accept the route for our bus tour. That bus tour is scheduled to take place June 24th. And so, is there any discussion from steering committee members in and around the bus tour scheduled for June 24th? Barry?
Yes.
Mike?
Just for clarity, the bus tour, I believe it was stated, is a nonstop tour. So we're not getting out, landing anywhere, it's driving by, hopefully slowing down. So what has been proposed, it will be a slow drive, basically around. Oh, here's my question, sorry, we narrowed that. If we go with the larger map that was proposed, are we also going to intercut to the different areas as well versus say a circular tour? So are we going to be doing the zigzag and hitting the points that we've all want to see?
I believe part of what we were, the information that we received is that we're proposing what the route will be. That information will go back and the district is going to work that out with the bus company to determine those specific areas. But just like we are proposing draft boundaries, we're proposing a draft, a bus route to encompass, and then we'll have those additional specifics on where it will intercut go from that place forward.
Right.
All right. Yes. Are we good? All right. Janice, board.
And then if there are areas where, I know that a bus can't go. We will work, this isn't like a one and done thing, right? If there's areas that we still need to continue to visit, let's rethink about how we can do that. Is it, do we take a couple of vans out there? We can get creative, and so this isn't limiting, so I don't want you guys to think it's limiting. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that this is the one and be all.
Has it been determined where we would meet for the bus tour?
It's not yet. Okay, so I'm going to invite Stephanie to provide an update based off the amount of time. We started at 6:11. It is now 8:19. We said we would go a little bit over because we still have one item that literally has to be covered today. But I'm going to invite Stephanie to provide an update on what the co-leads decided will be the path forward for the bus tour, since we do not have time right now to make a motion and vote on it.
Okay, so what we will be doing for the bus tour is we'll be sending communication out via email to all the steering committee members, and we can weigh in on that particular area, the route that we're going to take. And so more to come on that. All right?
And I just say the answer to my question is no, because if you guys are voting on this next meeting, obviously it doesn't include the camp. You could just be direct and say the answer is no.
Okay, and then so our next item.
Which we are skipping, so I'm gonna skip through these slides because we do not have time. Okay, and this is the last item that we do have to cover today, since it informs the schedule to come. And so I am going to invite Vincent to present on this schedule.
Okay, all right, so are we gonna post the different meetings up there that we're talking about, the dates? Okay, so our next schedule. Our next schedule will be, we talked about having the next 5 meetings all on CERP subjects. So these are the CERP subjects that we confirmed to discuss. This meeting right now is the develop draft boundaries and community tour routes. Our regularly scheduled June meeting will be the community tour. So in July, we're gonna have final boundary votes and air monitoring data. Our August meeting will be the budgets and funding. We'll talk about the different pools of money that come along with the SERP and or other things that we're going to be doing. And, our September meeting will be the SERP Community Panel, which we've always been asking for other, communities to come and let us know what they've done in their SERP and the successes and some of the, not failures, but maybe some of the projects that didn't go as well as planned. And our October meeting will be the community emissions inventory and sources of emissions. That is, I believe, gonna be provided, some of that is gonna be by Carl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Department of the District.
As well as hopefully some of that information will come from our phase 3 monitor, which I've been really hoping to see something from that. So this is clarity on what we're talking about, so I believe we're gonna need to vote on our next 5 meetings, and they're all going to be around the SERP, topics. Do we have to entertain for a motion?
Make a motion to approve. A second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, so now we have a committee discussion. Public comments come first. Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Relating to the SERP recommended schedules.
Yes.
Yes. The next 5 months of our regularly scheduled CSC meetings.
So just for the record, what does SERP stand for?
Community Emissions Reduction Plan.
The answer was Community Emissions Reduction Plan, since Vincent didn't have a mic.
If AB 617 did not exist, and AQMD would be the regulatory agency for South Sac, what would they be doing to monitor air quality in South Sac without AB 617? Isn't that what you do already? Sort of like stop signs and street lights. You are the entity that's in charge of getting baseline information on pollution. That's one question I have. What would you be doing if AB 617 wasn't there within the proposed boundaries? Secondly, the SERP, I would love to see, and I hope this is a part of the discussion. All of you know that South Sacramento does not have any air quality monitors that are federal regulated monitors. They don't exist. They exist everywhere else in the county except South Sacramento. We know that's a desperate issue that we've been arguing about for a while. Could that be part of the conversation in the SERP? Because we do need federal regulated air quality monitors in the area. Those are my 2 questions.
Thank you for comments, but we can't really know the.
Sorry.
I don't appreciate being strung along. I asked a simple yes or no question. And I was told it would be discussed at the next meeting, but at the next meeting, you guys are voting on the boundaries. So I won't get my answer. By default, you should just say, no, we're only talking about the SERP. Instead of stringing me along, it might be the camp, might not be the camp. When I asked about the funding, no answer. Seems like when I ask the hard questions, people can't respond. We're gonna talk next. You should have just said, no, we're not talking about both. Because in effect, that's what you're doing, because you're not gonna discuss including it on the spot next time, because you got an agenda. Are we voting on this SERP or not? I mean, Vince clearly stated that the highest emissions you guys found were at the boundaries. So you don't know what's on the other side of the boundaries. And yet, you're still kicking the can down the road to get this money out to industry instead of protecting the communities you guys are assigned to protect. Thank you.
Just for the record, the agenda has not been created for the next meeting. These are agenda items that will be included, but the actual agenda has not been created. Just for the record.
I believe I've heard throughout the meetings that at the next July meeting, you guys are voting on these boundaries. Was that not? I'm not gonna argue. That's what I heard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna, so I have a request, but I just wanted to Jose's point. Money has been given to Pepsi to buy electric Pepsi trucks. It's sugar that is killing us, killing me even. And So we gotta think about that, like, who are we electrifying? What are we doing with that money? Where is it going? And how is it really impacted and given to the community that is dying right now from some of these health impacts? One of the things that I want to request is if there could be any, I'm not gonna be able to make every single meeting, but for the sake of just having like off topic or off agenda comments or items, because I do sit on South Sac CPAC and I would like to have more opportunity to have some coordinating and share information with you guys that's happening. With the planning and stuff that's happening in South Sacramento, I think it totally impacts the stuff that you guys are doing, and it would just help to give you guys more information, to be more informed about developments that are happening, where they're happening at. What we're seeing is, community advisory council members who effectually don't really have any authority, but are there to make recommendations. And I think the more people in our community that are involved in this, we're better off. So, because I have a bunch of stuff here, materials that I can just give to you guys. You guys can go home and take it and read it, or I can just give you like a 5-minute, spiel about it. So that's kind of why I'm requesting you guys, add that to the agenda.
Yeah, just so you know, as a standard item on the agenda under new business and upcoming meeting topics, we have community calendar dates and events. And any non-relevant public comments that don't apply to the action items can be part of the public comment section at the end. So that is already there for you. Yeah.
Are there any other comments from the public and or online? No? Okay, where are we at? We go back to the.
Steering committee discussion.
Okay, steering committee discussion. Any other comments from or discussion from the steering committee?
Further discussion?
Yes.
Are we on?
Very. One moment.
Yeah. Steering committee, further discussion. Right there, number 7.
Yes, sorry, mine wasn't clicking fast enough, it's just snapped out. As we've discussed, with public comment, we don't do a back and forth this way, answers aren't given back and forth. But what was stated earlier by my person is that the CERT boundaries can include the expansion of CAM boundaries, and or we can decide to lessen either or. So they're just for clarity for those who may have missed it.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. And I'll add to that too, since we are aware of that, I do believe we're all gonna discuss that. And the possibility of all those things happening together. And come up with an answer for the people who have asked it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, steering committee votes. Any other, all those in favor of our proposed bus tour route?
Just to clarify, the slides haven't caught up, but we already did have a motion, a second, and public comment on the item. So I'm just vocalizing what I'm doing on the screen, which is that we are now at the voting stage and the slides are not caught up with what we were actually doing.
Okay, roll call. All right, Ward. Yes. Rhonda.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Vincent, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yeah.
Tito.
Yes.
And Michael.
Yes.
Okay, Stephen.
Yes.
Okay, the yeses have it. All right, great.
All right, as we discussed, we are skipping through these because we already covered. So just to clarify,
We are way over time, and I want to ask that we close the meeting because some of us have responsibilities and places to go, and I am one of those.
yes, so let me just clarify. We did hear public comments throughout. The comments that were just made under the subcommittee calendar were not related to the subcommittee calendar. We can also have public comments are available online until July 12th. And so because we have heard public comment throughout attached to the items, and we did hear comment that was not relevant to the items, and because comment remains open until July 12th, there are avenues for that to be made. And I heard Vincent maybe make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make it quick. Thank you. I appreciate it. I promise this is quick. So this is just regular public comment. Again, Adrian Wren with Valley Vision. Just wanted to invite you guys to an event that we're working on with United Latinos and Climate Plan and others on in South Sacramento to share some health survey data related to surveys that have been collected in South Sacramento and some forthcoming air monitoring data. So really just wanted to ensure that you guys know about this event. Saturday, June 22nd. I will have flyers out there, and I'll be handing out them to each of you so that you guys can each get one. Hope to see you again at the Valley High Library at 11:30 a.m. on the time. And also hoping that the Camp SERP kind of conundrum can maybe be addressed when you guys go out and release whatever document that has been created here that goes out to public comment. Maybe you can can join the two so that people can comment on the two being voted on together.
Amen, thank you.
You know what, I'm actually, and you can leave, I won't be offended at all, but I actually do, I printed out all this stuff and I do just want to hand it out to you guys.
I wanted to.
Yeah, you guys can take it. And also, I want to share with you all.
Can you please use the mic?
Yeah. I also am bringing this, I want to bring to your guys' attention too, that this is one of your guys' own, please, yeah. So there's, probably enough of the maps for all the steering committee members, but the actual, report, which is a report to justify this project that's going in at 7849 Stockton Boulevard. And it was a full report done around justifying why having, I think it's like somewhere between 40 and 70 diesel fuel trucks, right, literally next to housing development where families are gonna live, kids are gonna live. There's only gonna be a brick wall between the two. There's really no trees or environmental stuff happening between that. We did approve this at the South Sac Community Planning Advisory Council. But we approved it with a condition because what was unusual about this project for us is that we asked the owner if we could put an air quality monitor at this site specifically, because these kind of projects keep coming in front of us. This is probably the fourth in the last 2 years. And the other ones had 300+ diesel truck spots for them to park into. So imagine 4 different sites in South Sacramento community with between 70 to 400+ diesel trucks, all going around our, who's measuring that, what's in that air, who is it harming? We don't have anything that exists like that, and so we asked, the owner said it was okay. And Bill Knowlton was there supporting this project. And feels very much so, it's all been recorded, and I do all encourage you guys, if you're nerdy at all and are into this stuff and watching back our public meetings, to go back and watch the South Sac Community Planning Advisory Council's meeting last month. It's on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. So he's there supporting it, feeling, one of the things he shared was that these diesel trucks are already legally parking in the neighborhood anyways, and so let's regulate them. I don't know, maybe that is something you guys want for further discussion about how we handle, some of the activity that's happening in South Sacramento. But what I'm seeing as a community advisory council member is that we are continuously approving to allow to have diesel trucks in 2.5 just unmonitored and unregulated in South Sacramento. And if we're gonna continue to say, well, let's regulate it, but we're not even measuring, what is in the air, we're not even measuring it right now. So that's all I want to say. I just want you guys to know what's happening. I will, anytime that I'm here, I'm happy to give updates about what we're talking about that we need to, so.
Thank you very much.
Before we leave.
Okay, we have one more public comment and then I can pass to you, Barry, and I'm gonna close us out. It is 8:36. We are so far beyond, but thank you everyone for your patience.
when we went to CARB to complain about what's going on in South Sacramento, we made it very clear that all efforts to clean the air in South Sac should result in positive outcomes of public health situations that many people are suffering from in this town. Cancer, you name it. All 4 hospital systems have told us it's in South Sac, and our people are getting sick. We want to see people getting healthier. So this is our responsibility here to carry that burden.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and that is why we are still here at 8:36 PM. So yes, Barry, I will pass it to you. Sorry, I almost forgot.
Yeah, we don't have to close public comment because items done on the agenda, so forth, so on. I just want to make a quick announcement that on Saturday, November 2nd, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., the 2024 Sacramento Water Festival will be taking place at Discovery Park. Yes, it's a little advanced, but start setting your calendars because we know how fast things go and how we get booked. But it is backed by American Redbirds, that is with NS, and the City of Sacramento, County of Sacramento, and several other state agencies that are presenting the 2024 Sacramento Water Festival, November 2nd.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We voted on draft boundaries today. Those are open for public comment until the 12th. We stayed until 8:38 PM. And I want to thank everyone for all the adjustments we made. I appreciate your patience, your understanding as we made those. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so participatory and having such robust discussion that we are still here at 8:38. And so I'm going to ask, what do we want? We're gonna say South Sac clean air and clap, and we will adjourn the meeting. So what do we want?
South Sac clean air.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 8:38 PM.
8:38.